Greetings from multiple places. So I'm in Washington, D.C. for the Power Hour. Jared is back in Atlanta. And so good morning to all of you and wherever you are in whatever form you're in. John here, Jared there, you there. And it's a Friday where we're going to talk about stuff. And we got plenty of stuff in the Prem to talk about. We got rule changes in Major League Soccer we got to go through. Some of us got the chance to see that some of them kind of sort of implemented last year in MLS Next Pro. We have offshoots coming in Major League Soccer next year. And Atlanta United has added a new keeper. And so that is where we're going to go here in short order. Since Jarrett is a short timer this morning, we will get to the opening kickoff, and I blame myself, obviously, for 906 because I wanted to catch up with Jarrett, and so that was part and parcel to all of this stuff. So opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends, yes.
It's the shared trauma of Christmas parties.
Exactly. So opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's the QR code for those of you watching either on Twitch, on the 280-character app, or on our YouTube channel. Thanks, as always, for doing that. Don't forget to use the code Soccer Down Here 15. Thanks to everybody who has so far. And you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, at Kickoff Coffee, take 10%, reinvest it into the youth game, youth initiatives at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Really cool things going to happen this weekend. Frankly, I think it took entirely too long for it to happen. And it's in the Premier League. And you're going to have a female center ref. Very, very cool. And Sam Allison will also be the first African-American referee in the top flight since Uriah Rennie back in 2008. Rebecca Welch is going to be in charge for the matchup, not this Saturday, but Fulham and Burnley next Saturday. It was announced alongside the promotion of Sam Allison, who becomes the competition's second African-American referee, first for 15 years, when he'll take charge of Sheffield United and Luton Town on Boxing Day. Their appointments followed, and this is from their friends at The Telegraph, years of criticism over the lack of diversity among refs in English football, including a report 3 years ago that alleged racism partly to blame. Welch's elevation also comes days after two teenagers were arrested, suspicion, chanting abuse at her at Wayne Rooney's first win at Birmingham City. Newcomers were part of a development group formed last year and have already been fourth officials in the Premier League, Welch becoming the first female to perform the role last month, Manchester United and Fulham. Allison made his debut October last year for Chelsea's defeat at Brighton. So very, very cool. Took entirely too long. There you go. So that's your opening kickoff moment brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. See, I got to make up time because Jarrett's not going to be here for a while. So
that's fine. It is good. It is good that they're doing this. And it sucks that you kind of have to pick your spots with these kind of things because while you may think about the fact that individuals will be fine with a female center ref, you get enough large groups together and like Tom Eddie Jones says in MIB, individuals are fine. They're smart people, or dumb, panicky, and scared. You know it. You get people in a big enough group, and they're gonna get way out of pocket about this kind of thing if they're feeling a little bit of liquid courage and group courage.
Yes.
So you gotta pick your spots, get the right person. Get the right person who can roll with the abuse and who can give as good as they get when it comes to standing their ground and being firm and tough and putting up with the BS that is inevitably going to come.
No doubt. Morning, Alex. Morning, Michael. Morning, Emilio. Yep, we're getting into it. And so eventually we're getting into the MLS rules changes.
I 100% agree with Emilio. So
yeah. Financial rules doesn't seem like it did much. Emilio doesn't get it. Emilio, you're probably not the only one.
I'm 100%. You had a huge opportunity. You had a huge excuse even with Messi coming last year with the expansion of Leagues Cup, with the creation of Leagues Cup and playing more of the Mexican competition, with the expansion of CONCACAF Champions Cup. You had a huge opportunity going in from the offseason to next season to expand things. Even the rumored things about the U22, about allowing everyone just to have their 3 U22s and not tying them to DP statuses would have been fine. That would have been awesome. Or expanding salaries or expanding TAM, GAM, Wham, Bam, Thank You, Ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't going to add the 4th DP, whatever. The fact it didn't do anything it's head scratching.
Yeah.
I do like the on-field rules. Jim Curtin's about to find out how to measure 14.9 seconds.
He'll be like Roman Reigns at 2.99, counting in 3 count.
Yeah, he's going to be like, hey man, And to be fair, just so we're clear with everybody, when Roman does that, man, that's an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way some of these guys kick out, it's an art form. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The way they can sell that they're not moving and then move at the last second, or how they can time it out, is an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the referees. It's an art form from the referees to be able to know what kind of count to use at what time. You can watch them and watch their different rhythms on their counts. Dude, that's art form, man. But yeah, getting off the field in 10 seconds. I want to know how the punishments are going to be levied out for this kind of stuff, and how consistent the punishments will be.
Yeah.
Like if you're rolling around on the field.
When does your 10 count start?
Yeah. Yeah, and Michael's right. Like,
you got to enforce it.
Yeah, pro's gonna have to enforce it. Hey, Rich, it's good to see you, buddy. So man, I watched Neil Lennon for a long time. I've seen the gray. I've watched a lot of the Scottish game. I have seen the gray. I have seen gray that would, like, Jim Curtin would beam with pride at some of the Scottish teams that play. This is why there was a time when Jim Curtin, future Scottish team manager, Celtic manager, was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He wouldn't work there in his current iteration with the press, because you can't press the rest of the Scottish league because they don't want the ball. But yeah, no, the rules will have to be enforced. I want to see Jim Curtin get them to be like, hey, 14.9 seconds. I want you up on your feet like the Undertaker, sitting up.
What do you
I
want
you
to bet?
taking 9.9 seconds to get off the field.
Yeah. What do you want to bet Curtin's going to have a stopwatch? And he's just going to sit there and he'll start to trigger it, and then he'll count like the last handful of seconds. So go 6, 7, 8, almost like
almost like a count out in WWE.
Basically, yeah. I mean, but the count out will be legitimate timing. It won't be like, I'm going to think about it and then I'll go 6, and then I'm going to pull my hands down and I'm going to look off to my left and right. And it's not a true like second by second count. It's like, and I'm going to think about it, and then I'm going to go 7 when it's really like 2 or 3 times that particular number in like actual time, like, Seiko Longines and grab your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
So.
And here's the thing. Philadelphia is going to get this down to a science, and we're going to be so mad when it works for them, and they have it down to a science. And then everyone else, like, it's going to be somebody else, some other team is going to be like holding a 1-goal lead on the road, and they didn't train for this, and they can't get the timing down, and they're having trouble seeing the game out because they can't time waste as efficiently, because they will not have like look, man, this is like a new book of the dark arts is coming out, and we're having to amend how the dark arts work. Philadelphia's going to practice that. Red Bull's going to have this down. Home teams aren't, and they're going to struggle trying to. Some teams are going to struggle seeing games out with the dark arts, because it's just the way it's going to work.
Chapter 7: How to count in new MLS time. 1, 2, 3. Wait, 2, 3. Literally,
hey man, it's going to pay off when Philadelphia is killing off a 1-goal lead on the road, and we're just like beating our heads against a wall because Jim Curtin has them drilled to 9.9 seconds getting off the field and 14.9 seconds getting up, and all we're going to be able to do is sit there and go, you know what, man?
You got it.
Play within the rules. It is what it is.
What do you want now? Now the real thing, and I guess
Jose Martinez starting a mass confrontation on the field. It's like, well, I can't lay down on the field, but if I try and fight everybody, hey, they never said anything in the new rules about fighting people, and Jose Martinez is going to run with it.
See, but now you've opened up a door here. You've opened up a door where if you have an injury, and then at like 9.5, you start a mass confrontation to break up the count. Literally, it's like going into the ring to stop the count and then going back out to walk around the ring.
Oh, so we're like in a tag team match, and a boy's getting pinned, and I jump in and break up the pin.
Yes, absolutely.
There's so much potential here.
Yes.
Oh my God, there's so much potential for darkness and evil,
yes.
And I'm so excited for this. I am so excited for this right now. Let's do it. And Rich is right. If y'all didn't see, there was a bull on the
that was
actual train tracks.
Yes, I saw that.
Best
Welcome to
marketing
Sandro
Red Bull could have
Schwartz.
possibly done.
Oh my God, that was fantastic unintentional marketing. But I'm just think about it honestly now. Since we have carried the notion that
it's going to be beautiful,
that Philadelphia and the other fellow members of the time wasting union have figured out ways under the old rules to figure out how to do it.
They're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be amazing because it's gonna be all it's gonna be all within the rules, and it's gonna be like you're just gonna have to sit there and be like, it's like you gave an artist restrictions on how to make a painting, and they're still gonna make a painting.
Yeah,
Like
I said, I think that
it's gonna be funny as hell.
Like I said, I think this is going to be. Think about it next season, like your average tag team match, or your champion who's trying to waste time in a match where he knows he's against a superior opponent. All of the time wasting tactics that we've seen growing up in wrestling. Think about tag matches. Think about solo matches. That's how they're going to combine now with these time constraints that have been put on by Major League Soccer. Mark our words now. This will happen.
So here's the one, and to stop bagging on Philadelphia and stop bagging on Rich, because he showed up and just immediately was like showed up and immediately throwing hands like
he's piling on the Royal Rumble on a
not to treat Rich like we've got the glasses and we're Rowdy Piper with the glasses,
right? All out of bubble gum.
Yeah, but here's the one that gets me, and this isn't even like a Philly thing, so let's stop that for a minute. The whole if you're down for 10 seconds, you have to spend 2 minutes off. Like, how do we deal with that if it's like, hey, someone got clipped in the backwash and they stayed down because they were legitimately hurt? Like,
and that's the thing,
taking them off the field, when they got legitimately fouled. Like, that's where I'm going to be interested to see how they enforce it. Because, are they going to look back and say, hey, that guy, we got to take him off for 2 minutes? Okay, but he got, legitimately he got his wing clipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, or he got a flat tire.
And, I mean, we saw this in MLS Next Pro last year. And, the conversations that we had last season with Steve Cook with Atlanta United, too, around this particular issue.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is something that you really have to stare at here, where someone is legitimately injured and it's not a time wasting idea. The center ref has to have the sideways and the three-dimensional knowledge to sit there and go, okay, this isn't time wasting. We have to legitimately treat this injury. And I think center refs are going to learn pretty quickly how to navigate, or at least you hope they do, how to navigate this idea of legit injury for a team that wasn't trying to time waste. But Michael, we had players fouled in MLS Next Pro. Michael says, surely if a player is fouled, the time thing does not apply.
You would think, but
it did.
This is my stop, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, it can, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see how they enforce it. And it is the same thing. I vividly remember 2020. Atlanta United giving up a goal in a situation where Atlanta had someone go off injured, and I think it was Brooks Lennon went off injured, and they didn't drop anyone into the right back spot in the immediate throw in, and then gave up a goal because there was just no right back on the field.
Yeah.
It's going to be on teams to be very aware when someone is out on that 2 minutes. Hey, we got to rotate the setup immediately, and it's going to be. And I guarantee you're going to have other teams that are going to try and take advantage of it. Okay, he's off. Okay, go, and put the ball down, kick.
Yep.
It's going to be people are going to be pushing the limits every which way.
Yep, absolutely. And so we will catch up with you on Monday. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So there you go. So there's Jarrett. Jarrett's in, and Jarrett's done. It's a Friday for Jarrett. Emilio, interference with the count should result in a yellow card to the interferer. In theory, yeah, you should be able to sit there and go, dude, you broke up the count, bang. But once again, how do you monitor? And this probably, Emilio, to your point, this probably is where VAR and the fourths and the ARs can come into this conversation and sit there and go, okay, well, so-and-so made a point at, however many seconds that were there to, to instigate something else to kind of keep the count, going forward. So something that we've got to keep an eye on. But no, think of all of the clandestine things that we've seen in sports and entertainment to try and keep a count going, to exacerbate something, to anything, any kind of time-wasting tactic, whether it is starting something else to reset everything. This is now where we have to think. And so this is our game preparation heading into 2024. Think of all the time-wasting things we've seen in the past. Now think of them as being connected as elements. So we've got to keep an eye on that. So we'll go over the other rule changes here as they came across. And for those of you who missed it yesterday, this is the official wording from Major League Soccer. Off-field treatment rule, if I could get my upper plate to work this morning. Medical professionals time to assess and treat players off the field to play in a less pressurized environment. If a player with suspected injury remains on the ground for more than 15 seconds, ref stops play, waves the medical crew onto the field to evaluate the player. When safe, the player will be removed from the field and remain off the field for a minimum of 2 minutes for further assessment and treatment. So you're 11v10 for 2 minutes. But once again, as we talked about, dude's legitimately injured. Why do you have to penalize the team that wasn't trying to do something on purpose? So this is something that's going to, early on in the season in 24, we got to keep an eye on this. First implemented MLS Next Pro. Off-field treatment rule has allowed medical staff, and like I said, this is MLS's wording. Off-field treatment rule has allowed medical staffs time to treat players while also allowing match play to resume quickly. Exceptions to the off-field treatment rule include instances of potential head injury, goalkeeper injuries, serious medical events, once again, no detail as to what that is, and fouls resulting in yellows or reds. Time substitution rule. Time substitution rule requires a substituted player exit the field within 10 seconds. And we've seen, this is one of those big time-wasting things that we've always seen. Failure to exit from any point on the field within 10 seconds causes the incoming player to wait for a 60-second holding period before entering the game. So basically, you end up with a 1-minute power play, and after the player that is being substituted out finally leaves the field of play. 1-minute power play. How much you can do in that minute, who knows? It's up to you. Entering the game at the next stoppage. During the holding period and prior to the substitute entering, team will play down a player. Exceptions to the rule include injury and keeper substitutions. Enacted in MLS Next Pro last season, 99.7% of the more than 3,200 substitutions were completed in 10 seconds or less. In-stadium VAR announcements. Pending IFAB approval, VAR decisions announced by the ref to fans in the stadium and viewers at home. Stoppage clock. Scoreboard, video boards, and or stadium clocks will run until the completion of each half, including any additional time at the end of either first or second half. So we're going to get stuff like we see it on television, but now we will finally see it in the arenas where you'll go 46, 46-27, and you'll get that kind of running idea past 45 and past 90. Play equity. Opposing players who simultaneously incur head injuries requiring off-field treatment who are subsequently cleared to return to play will return to the game at the same time once both medical evaluations have been completed. That makes sense. Now, roster and budget guideline updates for those of you that missed it. Beginning after the 2024 roster compliance date, MLS will reduce the number of discovery list slots per club from 7 to 5. San Diego FC will maintain. Expansion club San Diego FC may, whatever verb they want, may maintain 7 beginning January 1st, 2024 through the 2025 roster compliance date, at which point the number of slots is reduced to 5. Following the transfer of a DP who meets the TAM eligibility parameters, a club may now elect to receive a portion of transfer fees as general allocations money. Previously, any transfer or loan revenue from DPs could not be assigned as GAM, and for a player to be considered a domestic player in the applicable season, residency must be established or the player has to have appeared for an immigrant visa interview by the opening of the secondary transfer window. Nothing on DPs, nothing on anything of that. So, all right, as you wish. But no, I think that as we have all maintained this morning, that there have been that's an opportunity that was missed. Absolutely an opportunity that was missed. So you're going to continue to have folks who are very, very adept at looking at rosters and financials, since there apparently has been no adjustment of any depth, breadth, or what have you. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So those are the roster, and those are the things we to look out for in 2024 when it comes to Major League Soccer transfers. And we're still in that week of folks moving around doing everything like that. So yesterday, Alex Roldan signs a new contract in Seattle. San Jose Earthquakes acquired Preston Judd from the LA Galaxy, and this was a deal for $200,000 in general allocation money in exchange for Preston Judd. So Preston Judd becomes his own kind of Cali Classico, going from LAG to San Jose. Orlando City fully acquired Wilder Cartagena, and that comes from Ittihad Kalba. Sticking with Orlando City, and so Al Ittihad, obviously from the UAE Pro League, club announced Thursday they've signed him through the 25 season. 3 goals, 2 appearances, 41 appearances across all comps, part of the winning side in 22 in the Open Cup. Remember his golazo in the playoffs, 29 appearances for Peru, playing alongside Pedro Galese, chasing a 2024 Copa America roster spot in a second World Cup trip after playing in Russia in 2018. So Cartagena stays, and he has been put in under the tent for Orlando. Seattle admits that they're chasing after a DP-level replacement for Nico Ladero. FC Cincinnati has signed center back Kip Keller. And I admit that this stuff is all fantasy moves, and we got to keep an eye on all of it, though. Keller signed through the 24 season with options for 25 and 6. Cincinnati acquired Keller's rights from Austin FC in exchange for their 3rd-round pick in the 24 Super Draft. So the 23-year-old selected number 5 overall in the 22 Super Draft, 17 appearances across all comps for Austin FC, 16 appearances for Los Verdos, Austin FC 2, as they won MLS Cup. So Kip Keller goes from Austin to Cincinnati. Jeter O'Brien was selected in the movement yesterday that was tied to the re-entry draft. And they had the first pick, and Austin did some wheeling and dealing and picked up some slots, giving up some allocation money, things like that. So they picked up Jeter O'Brien, selecting him first in the re-entry draft stage 1. Last 3 seasons were at FC Dallas, 17 and 13 in 94 games, and he's going to occupy senior and international roster spots for Austin FC. And the other news yesterday that happened around 1:30 was, NYCFC signs Matt Freese to a new deal. Nashville acquires Mackenzie Gaines from Charlotte. FC Dallas signed their homegrown Alejandro Urzua. Philadelphia signed homegrown midfielder Nick Pariano. We mentioned Sandro Schwartz as we went off the air yesterday. But the other news, Atlanta United signing Josh Cohen to a deal. And so it comes a year after the initial discussions. But Josh Cohen now in the fold for Atlanta United through the 25 season with an option for 26. He was out of contract after helping Maccabi Haifa, winning 3 Israeli Premier League titles, 161 matches across all comps, highlighted both their run in Champions League. And while you did get to see the highlights in the package that was put forth by Atlanta United, Cohen really kept them in a lot of games in their runs in Champions League. And he has been known to be on his head at times. But in Champions League, he really was a standout, and they showed obviously the PK save against Juve. And they were in a group of death with Benfica, Juve, and PSG. called into 2 camps for CONCACAF Nations League in the Final Four. And so we've seen a lot of the handiwork there. So this gives, once again, the anticipated competition for Brad Guzan. Brad Guzan's at 39, and so we will see. I think he has one more option year after this. So we'll see where the competition goes with Cohen and with Brad Guzan as your 1 and your 1 and your 1B, your 1 and your 2, however you want to phrase it. So we'll see what it looks like there with Atlanta United going forward. So checking to see what you guys are running through, and I'll go back to the beginning, and we'll kind of recycle our way through with all of the comments and things. Michael Head, if Cohen cannot beat out Brad, and then he has this dots. Question to the floor from the Airborne DJ Tom Russo. Do we think Cohen's the number 1 level keeper in this league? Admittedly, don't know much about him. Morning, Dave. Glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH. And like I said, you can catch up with us live on our YouTube channel, on Twitch, and on Twitter. And so this is where we are every single morning, 9:05 until whenever. Traditionally, if I'm not on the road, like I said, as you can tell, a fantastic palatial environment here in downtown Washington, D.C., then we usually go 9:05 to 11:05, Dave. But once again, thanks for hanging out with us. And we just talk shop. We talk soccer, whatever's on your mind. Sometimes, more often than not, we go off the rails, but that's just how we are. But, Tom wants to ask. Don't know much about him when it comes to Cohen, but we'll see. I mean, he's done well internationally, and he's helped out Maccabi Haifa, so we'll see how he translates here to the United States, and it's going to be something that we'll continue to stare at. Looking at early comments this morning, Michael obviously is hoping that Pro enforces the 15-second injury rule. Hoping. Once again, enforcement. We've talked about this before, but it is all about enforcement, making sure that you can sit there and, and this is where I want to know where the stopwatch starts. I want to know what specific act what we should have, and I don't know if we would end up having it, but some kind of synchronization. And I think that this would work well. I might be asking for too much, but that's just, like I said, this is me and early thoughts on all of this. I'd like to see some kind of synchronization from whomever is the timekeeper in all of this. If you end up with an AR being the timekeeper, the VAR being a timekeeper, center ref hitting a something on his Apple Watch, some kind of coordination where those who are watching, whether you're in the arena or on whatever the carrier is, if it's a free TV game or if it's on Apple or whatever, some kind of knowledge in a corner where we are with the clock. I'd love to know that kind of stuff instead of us having to sit there with our own stopwatches and go, okay, did it start here or did it start here? And then hitting reset and then getting lap time in our stopwatches, things like this. I'd like to see some kind of integration of the clock and the broadcast. So there's nothing left to chance, because if this is the rules that are being put forth, this way we don't have to sit here and go, okay, well, when did the clock start? He was down. Well, he started here. And so, does the ref make a move? Does he have a definitive move where he goes like, he puts his arm in the air and he goes bang like a stopwatch every single time? How do we know when the clock starts? I'd love to see some kind of integration in the on-air product and the center ref, so we can have a good gauge as to when things start and when they don't. Because that if we don't have that on our, within the broadcast, we're always going to be left guessing, and we're always going to have discussions on Monday mornings about this kind of stuff. So literally it would end up being 2 more topics that we would be discussing on a Monday morning. When did the clock start? When did it stop? Who started it? Where? All these kinds of questions that are always in play. So we've got to keep an eye on this. I'd love to see some kind of integration. I don't know if they're thinking about that yet. I'd love to see it. So we'll see what happens. But once again, The clock, the clock, the clock. Who's in control of it? When does it start? And how can we see it? So we're left without any kind of question over the transparency of the substitution or the injury pattern or anything like that, or instigating, what have you, all these kinds of things. I want to see some transparency. I don't know how you pull it off, but I'm sure the TV and technology and Apple, I mean, seriously, if you had a center, all the center Fs had Apple Watches that were coordinated with the truck, literally. He goes like this, center F is Ismail El-Fath is staring at the situation, and he goes, bang, and low corner, clock starts. I'd love that. That personally is what I'd like to see, is some kind of integration. Will we get there? I don't know. Just a thought. You can thank me later. Apple, MLS. See, we fixed the time constraints. We fixed the All-Star game. We've now fixed the time constraints. Took a far less time. But yeah, the financial rules, Emilio, right there with you. You had a chance to do something, you didn't do it. Michael Head. We'll take Miss Penzo all day, every day as center F. Very, very cool there. And so Rich, as a public service, has linked to the Athletic story about spending and Messi and all these kinds of things. So we'll see. We will see when it comes to when you reset all of your tabs. I mean, come on, man. I'm trying to remember now which account I logged into so I could look at the article, but I might have to do it through other means and trying to figure out what's going on. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it. We'll figure it out. Okay, so that wasn't the proper one, so maybe I'll have to do it this way. Nothing like this to figure this out on live TV, yeah. But now we'll get back to it. LA Galaxy, we mentioned player movement and everything. Galaxy made a bid for Ramon Sosa from Teixeiras, and it looks like the longest, the largest amount of money, I think, is what I am trying to say, is $9.5 million was the longest, or the largest transfer that was attached to anything involving the Los Angeles Galaxy. And it looks like they might break the bank if they try to bring in Ramon Sosa from Teixeiras as a part of all of this. So we'll see what it's going to be like. This is from, obviously, Bogart and Tenorio. The deal with Chicharito was $9.5 million in 2020. Deal for Sosa likely to be north of that figure, 10 plus 7 in 35 appearances for Teixeiras across all competitions, 8 caps for Paraguay. Galaxy have 2 DP slots open alongside Ricky Puig, with the departures of Chicharito and with Douglas Costa. So we will see what the rundown is for all of that. But it's like all I want is just to sit there and access an article, and you have to sit there and go around your elbow to try to figure out what's going on. Inside the committee, the Tenorio piece about determines how Messi will impact MLS spending was what Rich graciously put in the Twitch pitch for required reading of the day. But no, we will definitely see what is going on. Yeah, and Michael Pro has to enforce the rules. Pro has to enforce the rules. Have to. Yeah, if they enforce the 15 and 10, it'll be fantastic. But like I said, I want to know when it starts. That's the biggest thing, because we're all going to be yelling our heads off. Should be out. Where's my power play? This here, and this here. Where is it? What's going on? We need to know the timing. And Michael also says it's going to be awesome. The first time an opposing team scores while the injured player is sitting out the penalty. Absolutely. You get that power play going, and then you end up with it. Nile, public service announcement. Inter Miami is going to play Vissel Kobe in Japan February 7th. So let me see if I got this right. It's El Salvador and Vissel Kobe, and then Inter Miami CF. All right. So where is this tour now that we've added? I mean, you got to figure out where in the blue hell. I mean, please tell me that if you are part of what's going on at Inter Miami, that you as a player get all of these miles and points. If you're going from Riyadh, that was the other one that I couldn't remember. Yeah, February 7, they're playing Vissel Kobe at the Japan National Stadium, the J1 champs. February 7. So Hong Kong, Riyadh, in the Riyadh Season Cup. January 29th against Al Hilal in Riyadh. February 1st against Al Nasser. And so then after that, they're going to take 5 days to travel from Riyadh to Tokyo to start things off. Vissel Kobe, the former club of football legend Andres Iniesta. All right, so here we go. January 19, El Salvador national team. 2 matches in the Riyadh Season Cup, January 29, February 1st. Match in Hong Kong against the Hong Kong team, February 4, before doing the February 7th match against Vissel Kobe. Man, I would crush it if I could get all those points. All those miles and points, that would be fantastic. I would dig that completely. Absolutely dig that completely. Union have fought, and Rich, once again, a public service, showing highlights of the Union and Saprissa. So keep an eye on all of that. Nothing with the DPs. Don't know about a cap increase. I'm sure that it was, but we will find out what that is. Probably training camp, week before the season starts, something like that. Early free agency buzz. Inter Miami, the favorites for Julian Gressel, according to, once again, our friends at The Athletic. New England Revolution also want Gressel in the mix. Sources describe it being a 2-horse race between Miami and New England. But, either one of those teams, he'd be closer to the East Coast. He'd be on the East Coast. Columbus wasn't quite the East Coast, but East Coast. So we'll see what's up there. Wagner and Bedoya hitting free agency. Rich, what do you think? Potential returns, reopen discussions. Bedoya, Wagner, are they coming back or are they gone? Both agreed officially to hit free agency. Bedoya, since 2016. Kai Wagner, All-Star 21 and 22. MLS Best 11 and 22. And then we mentioned Kip Keller. And in addition to chasing after the players that we've talked about already for LAG in negotiations to sign Japan right back Miki Yamane from Kawasaki Frontal. Sources briefed on the talks. Nothing finalized yet. Turning 30 this month. 21 caps with Japan, 2 league titles with Kawasaki. Could potentially join international teammate Maya Yoshida in Los Angeles. Japanese outlet Dome Soccer first reported the talks. Gadi Kinda unlikely to return to Sporting Kansas City. Talks currently inactive. Expected to return to Europe to be closer to family. Out of contract after 4 seasons. Liga MX clubs are interested in Paul Arriola. And FC Dallas yet to receive any kind of an offer. He's a dual national. So we'll keep an eye on Paul Arriola. So it could be a Japanese defender and Ramon Sosa from Teixeiras for LAG because of all of those slots that are available. So we'll see what happens there. Michael, and this would be a public service. Can MLS please, he begs, get rid of all of the arcane, gam, tam, wham, and whatever else and just have a cap? It's not hard. So that'd be nice because, and transparency is going to be key here. Rule changes, all this kind of stuff. When you go into a new year with a new set of situations, transparency is going to be great. It helps us all understand this. Having an actual cap would make more sense instead of the allocation money and sitting there saying, okay, how do we apply it? Where does it go? Is it targeted? Is it general? All that kind of stuff. The more alphabet soup you have, it's confusing. It is absolutely confusing. So the idea there being less alphabet soup, more transparency, the more we understand and the more we bring folks under the tent to help them understand what's going on when it comes to soccer and to Major League Soccer specifically. The weekly allocation money, maybe perhaps, if that could be what WHAM stands for. But It does bog you down. It absolutely does bog you down when you're trying to figure out, okay. I mean, Nashville makes 3 deals to pick up north of 800,000 in allocation money. You're sitting there going, okay, they're trying to pick up somebody. And how does it apply? Where does it apply? Where is it going? Those kinds of things. All of these questions. Right there with you, Michael. I'd love for, and if you're not going to get rid of the allocation money and all of the alphabet soup, at least be more transparent about it. What's the cap? What is the high number? What is that high number where teams in Major League Soccer can spend up to? And where is a team when it comes to a cap? How close are they? With all of these other elements and salary figures and things like that, where are they in the grand scheme of things? So we'll see. Morning, Jordan. Thanks for hanging out with us. Once again, we do this every day, Monday through Friday, 9:05. We believe in Turner time here, and we'll go. It's probably a little bit more than a power hour this morning, since the boss is out at breakfast. See, I look off to my left since I'm here in a hotel room in Washington, D.C., and I can look off to my left. When she comes back, that's when we got to get ready to go to the airport and come back to Atlanta. Prem and Proper is later today. We'll release that, get you ready for action in the Premier League. There are some news stories that we'll get into here before we go, and we'll discuss what's going on there. Ange Postecoglou wonders why VAR is not in the game, or why the VAR is in the game. He doesn't want it. So we'll get into that, get you into the other stories in the Premier League, what to watch for, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo internationally. We'll get into that as well. So there's plenty to get into this morning across the board. But, yeah, I mean, you got to be transparent about these kinds of things. Tom says Garber did mention something about simplifying the rules going forward. Just not this season. Was there something about the DP level being raised from 1.6 to 2.0? That is something I do not know, Emilio. Like I said, I've been in high school football championships, and I'm just getting my sea legs back. Next week, once again, we will have a reminder. You can pick up our scarves for the Atlanta is American soccer. Soccer is American. Yeah, Atlanta's American soccer. The Vic Crow quote from 68. We've reissued that for Christmas. If you want that as a part of your dossier, reach out to me. You can DM me. You can DM the show, and we'll figure it out. It is $25 plus $5 shipping unless you want Abby to bring it to you, and she'll do that. And so it's one of the last tours of the Abstermobile. She's going to help us out with deliveries for the holiday season. So there's all of that. And yeah, Michael. Well, that is something, but why wait? Come on, Garber. That's what you're looking at here. It's like you can make decisions, but you want to make them down the line. So we'll see what happens. Once again, Dave, good morning. Thanks for hanging out. And that's the thing, Michael. When we're trying to figure out the clock, does the clock start when the rolling round starts or ends? That is going to be key. Once again, I want to know. That's why I want to have an Apple Watch on a center F, and he can sit there and start the clock, and we know it happens. Even if we don't see that move, when he starts the clock, little clock on the corner. That's what I want to know. I want to have that the whole frickin' time. The whole frickin' time. So we'll see what happens. And we will absolutely see what's going on. 4-card. Always remember Jason's warning about the many failed leagues in the history of the game in the U.S. It's easy to project growth all the time, but constant growth is not sustainable. And so, we will see what is on everyone's mind. Good morning, Wade. Thanks for hanging out with us. Once again, like I said, we're here. We are here, and we're here every Monday through Friday. Time when I'm back in Atlanta, 2 hours. Maybe more. Speaking of which, Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Next week, we'll get our guests back in our normal rotations. Tuesday, 10 o'clock, Darren Van Tassel is going to join us from Tormenta. And there's some cool things going on. USL League One released their full schedule yesterday. and it is a balanced schedule, and there's also the Cup competition. We haven't even had the chance to mention the Cup competition in the USL Championship and USL League One. The PA wasn't happy about it in the USL. They weren't consulted about the integration and all that kind of stuff. They get it, they understand it, but they weren't consulted, and they let everybody know. And Brock, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Do not be strangers. Please, for those of you that joined this morning, I would, don't be shy. It is an open conversation that we have. It is fairly stream of consciousness when it comes to me referencing the Twitch pitch. If you've got any questions about anything, that's what the Twitch pitch conversation is for. It is for all of you guys who have conversation, you want to talk about issues and have your back and forth. You can do it there while we're talking about all the news items on the show. If you've never watched the show, you've never listened to the show, first off, thanks for coming on and thanks for joining us. But what we do is we talk the news of the day. Atlanta United, admittedly, is where we do spend a lot of time, but we do spend time in discussing things in and around the Southeast and in and around the world of soccer. So we are a soccer show based in the South. And we talk about a lot of things. Atlanta United, obviously, is where a lot of our time in Major League Soccer is spent, but we'll bring guests on to have their analysis. Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com and OSDB Sports. Nico Moreno, our friend from Pulso Sports out in Seattle. He joins us on Thursdays. We try to have live guests when they can fit it into their schedules. But next week, we're going to catch up with Bev Yanez, the new head coach at Racing Louisville. That'll be a 1v1 that'll be posted to the network. Don't forget to download the SDH app, available on iOS and Android as well. And if it's if your iPhone, you have to go to our parent network, Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. And then you do a search for Soccer Down Here, and then you can hit that and you bookmark it and you claim it. And so anytime we come on with a show, you set your notifications. We're on, and then there's any new programming on. So set your notifications there, and everything's all laid out for you. So don't forget to download the Soccer Down Here app, soccerdownhere.net. And 2024, we're going to pick up our high school schedule, and we'll be all over the place doing things. And the other thing that I didn't get the chance to announce was, Atlanta United. I just saw this when I've been on the road, is that Atlanta United goes to Birmingham on the 27th of January to take on Birmingham Legion. So we'll be there in some form or fashion, probably getting some sound and figuring out how Atlanta United looks after the 27th of January as they take on Birmingham Legion at Protective. And so we'll be hanging out there as well. Rich Wagner, let's just say he has issues he needs to fix first. David, any clubs shying away from Wagner based upon the Bobby Wood situation? And Tom says, yeah, I'd say that most would. But Rich comes back, haven't heard, and some of the fan base even think that he will be back in the union. So keep an eye on that. And David, yeah, the NBA effectively has game in tandem with luxury tax, mid-level exceptions, etc. But the problem is the NBA, you can sit there and make all kinds of things, luxury tax, mid-level exceptions, but we know what the cap is. We know what spending is. We know how much over the cap you are. We know what the luxury tax is going to be. We know all of these things. Same in the National Hockey League. Same in the National Football League. But in Major League Baseball. But the problem is, in Major League Soccer, we don't. So a lot of us are left guessing as to, okay, what is this real charge? Is it the full compensation or is it the base? What's it worth? How much more can my favorite team spend? We don't know that. Flying Chicken and Rice, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Glad you joined. Like I said, we're here every Monday through Friday, so come on back. Back to David's point. NBA effectively has GAM-TAM luxury tax mid-level exceptions. We can go on a website, and if we wanted to make trades in the NBA, we could do that. We could sit there and do a trade tracker. We could do mock trades. We could sit there and say, okay, to have everything fit here, 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 and here. We can do trades. We can do mock trades when we get close to the trade deadline. We can do those kinds of things in all of those other sports because we know the information going in. We know what the cap hit is. We know what the percentages are. We know what the luxury tax hits can be. We know all of this stuff. But in Major League Soccer, we don't. And I think that holds our understanding back. I think it certainly holds our knowledge back about what our favorite team can do, how much our favorite team can spend, why they can't spend a certain amount of money in a certain situation. If we had this kind of information, I think it would help us out a lot. So we keep our fingers crossed and hoping that at some point we can get this kind of information so we all can be more well-informed. Is that right? More informed and well-informed. An informed fan base of your sport is always a good thing. It's always a good thing when you can have the knowledge about what your team can and can't do and have an understanding as to why something didn't happen. We seem to have more questions about the league and spending and all this kind of stuff right now. So we can sit there and put our hands to our hearts, put our other hand in the sky and go, please help us out down the line. Let us know about what's going on. Be more transparent with your stuff. Be more transparent with your stuff. That's your tagline. So that's where we are with that, when it comes to what's going on. With all of the new things that are happening in Major League Soccer with rule changes and additions and things like that coming up in 24, which is only 2 weeks away. Didn't know if you saw this, but you remember the dude in Turkey, the club president who goes onto the field and slugs the ref. Guy was handed a lifetime ban by the Turkish FA. Faruk Koca had already resigned from Ankaragücü, arrested for hitting Halil Umut Miller in the face. And he had a nice mouse under his left eye, too. Handed a permanent ban by the Turkish Football Federation for punching the official. Back on Monday night in the match with the Ankaragücü and Rizespor. Subsequently arrested, TFF announcing a host of disciplinary measures on the website last night. Said he'd been banned in response to the incident. Obviously, we all saw it, but about time that he had been completely and totally suspended and wiped off of the Turkish Football Federation books when it comes to any kind of activity whatsoever. Miller sent off one player from each side before Rizespor equalized the 7th minute of injury time for the 1-1 draw. So Koca runs onto the pitch after the game before hitting the ref, who was then kicked by another person while on the ground. I mean, the video is disturbing. Left the hospital Wednesday, injuries with a small fracture under his eye. The justice minister said on his 280-character account, Koca had been arrested for injuring and threatening a public servant due to his public duty. Koca announced his resignation. Matches were all suspended following the assault. TFF, the Football Federation, fined Ankaragücü £54,000, ordered him to play 5 matches behind closed doors, among a number of sanctions. And that'll kick back in on Tuesday. FIFA President Gianni Infantino decided to weigh in, telling Sky, enough is enough and this has to stop. I was shocked when I saw the images like everyone else. You can be excited at a match and you can feel for a team, but there's no way we can accept anything like that to happen. Duh. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that quote. Let's see. This was something else I wanted to get into is kind of, I guess, our transition into Europe. But once again, Twitch pitch is wide open. If I've missed something you guys want to talk about, let me know. We'll hit it. Ange Postecoglou. John West at the Telegraph. Ange Postecoglou, quote, I do not know why VAR is in the game. I don't celebrate goals like I used to. previously called for the system to be scrapped and the authority of on-pitch officials to be restored. And he admits to being an old soul. He has admitted to that as much in his interviews. Doesn't know why VAR is in the game at the moment. Stopped him from enjoying his goals, his team scores. Liverpool Crystal Palace, remember, got delayed 4 minutes. And apparently, Andy Madley, the center ref, had to be shown of the challenge of Will Hughes on Wataru Endo no fewer than 24 times. And I will always maintain that the more and the longer that you're looking at something, that means you're looking for something instead of just letting something be. You're looking for something at that point. Set a time frame. That's something else for VAR. Set a time frame. And if you can't find it, then that's on you. You and the VAR crew, if you haven't found something in X number of minutes or, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, what have you, then you're obviously trying to look for something and you're looking too hard. Quote, I don't think it's been used in the manner it was brought in for, so that's the space we're in, and I'm hoping that the people who are in charge simplify the whole process so everyone can understand why it's in the game. I don't know why it's in the game at the moment. It certainly hasn't made things clearer or more enjoyable. Not for me. Still don't celebrate goals like I used to. We don't want to take all the fun out of the game, but every player knows there's a line. If you cross the line, somebody will bring you back in the line pretty quickly. You had Brennan Johnson taking, kind of dialing Richarlison back when it came to his showboating. But once again, VAR. Ange Postecoglou's not a fan. And I know that we've had discussions about VAR a lot. But the idea, once again, if you've got a problem with how something is administered, address it through the laws of the game. Morning, Harry. Thanks for hanging out with us. Address it through the laws of the game. The officials of today are looking at things through the prism of the rules that they know. They're looking at it through the rules that they know. If there's a problem that is exacerbated by VAR, change it through the laws of the game. Don't sit there and look at it through the prism of what's currently going on. So that's the biggest thing that I can, I guess, recommend in this situation. You got to have time frames and time constraints. You got to have a time constraint. And then once again, if there's a problem, address it through the laws of the game. It's not VAR's fault that the laws are what the laws are. And I think that we also need to, once again, just understand all of that stuff. Okay, so there's the official note on Inter Miami, and all of that is working through this morning. So, all right, let's continue to roll through here in hour number 2. Nothing like trying to juggle about 9 different things at once. Other news, and we've talked a lot about, and Tom, you can hold your ears if you wish. Matt Law this morning over at the Telegraph got an exclusive interview with Johannes Spors, who outlines how Everton can be the missing link in 777's plans if the takeover is given the green light. We talked about 777. We talked about all their problems. And so now the man in charge at 777, who is looking to be a part of the takeover of Everton, does an interview, and he says that Everton can be the missing link with Matt Law. Man who's set to take ultimate responsibility for the football department has insisted 777 partners can prove their critics wrong and has given his backing to Sean Dyche and Kevin Thelwell. Spores has already held talks with Thelwell, who will remain in charge of the club's day-to-day football ops, and Dyche. Hugely impressed by the pair, outlined why he believes Everton can benefit from becoming the missing link in the 777 group, which already includes Genoa Standard Liège, Hertha Berlin, Red Star in Paris, Vasco da Gama, minority stakes in Sevilla, and Melbourne Victory. Video call from Saudi Arabia, where he's been a guest of FIFA ahead of the Club World Cup and on business for 777. All of 777's clubs are better off since their involvement. Track record of recruiting and developing talent speaks for itself. Jared Branthwaite's the perfect example of why loans are so vital. And Everton will be at the front of the queue for 777's top talent. So as our public service, the required reading of the day is going to be that article. So 777 wants to prove everybody wrong, and it is a long article about where 777 believes that they are, as a group, in a 2-hour video call. So Johannes Spores had a lot to say about having Everton at the front of the line, and we will prove you wrong. Also, what I would recommend is go to our friends at Yosemar Football, and they broke down what they have been able to see in the investigation, their investigation of 777, and how things are, how their previous activity has laid itself out. And so we will, if you combine both of those as your required reading, then we'll keep an eye on the future there when it comes to Everton and the new stadium and the level of investment, provided Everton can stay in the Premier League. Did not know if you saw this. James Ducker did a rundown of the Rafa Varane situation. And apparently Varane can talk with suitors in January. But now with all of the injuries, Varane is needed, and he's needed this weekend. Deepening injury crisis means that he's got to go to Varane, meaning Erik ten Hag, to dig him out of a hole. Completely sidelined not too long ago, free to talk to foreign suitors next month with his contract set to expire at the end of the season, a year earlier than when that was originally stated on United's website at the time of the signing. The appearance in the defeat by Bayern Munich confirmed that United's elimination from Europe was his first start since late October, first appearance in a month. And so, obviously, I can't wait to hear Drew Dickinson and what he has to say about it when we have Prem and Proper posted a little later today. But fifth in the pecking order behind Johnny Evans. And because of all the injuries, Varane is now having to play. And so, once again, that raises the questions about player management. And so that's one of the things that has always kind of stuck with folks right now as they're breaking down what we're seeing from Erik ten Hag and from Manchester United. How has he managed players? Has he managed them well or well enough? And a lot of folks who are staring at the situation are going, no, he hasn't. And so now Rafa Varane, who can leave a year ahead of when we thought, is now having to be pressed into service. That's his audition for whoever may want him next. We'll see what happens. Mikel Arteta has escaped punishment from the FA after his refereeing rant after losing to Newcastle, labeling their decisions embarrassing and a disgrace. The independent commission found an FA charge to be not proven. Arteta was charged with breaking Rule E3.1, which includes bringing the game into disrepute. It might have resulted in a ban, but he was cleared. No set sanctions had Arteta been found guilty, but a fine or a touchline ban probably would have been the outcome. Independent Regulatory Commission dismissed the charges as not proven. And in their written reasons, it was revealed that Arteta's evidence claimed the word disgrace has a very similar. Okay, so here we go. All right, let's. Here's their explanation. An independent regulatory commission dismissed the charges as not proven, and in its written reasons, it was revealed that Arteta's evidence claimed, quote, the word disgrace has a very similar spelling and pronunciation to the Spanish desgracia. Spanish word has connotations of misfortune, tragedy, or bad luck, rather than the connotations of the English equivalent, which suggest contempt, dishonor, or disrespect. While the English meaning may lead to interpretations of abuse or insult, this was not the intended meaning, end quote. The referee, Stuart Atwell, awarded the goal, but Newcastle fans had an extended wait. VAR makes a triple check to see if the ball had gone out of play before Joe Willock's cross, whether Joelinton had fouled Gabriel Magalhaes, and whether Gordon had been offside. Arteta said, you have to talk about how the hell did this goal stand. Incredible. I feel embarrassed. He also exclaimed he felt sick at the decision. Commission's written reasons said Arteta's emotional state had been heightened when he was told, quote, by certain Arsenal players that Willock had expressed the view that the ball had gone out of play before he crossed into the penalty area, end quote. Comments followed by a club statement backing their manager. Arteta has since said he will continue to speak out over what he perceives to be poor officiating. Hang on just a second. The PGMOL, Professional Game Match Officials Limited Chief, basically what we look at over here in the United States is pro. Howard Webb is the chief of PGMOL. Later said the process followed in awarding Gordon's goal was correct. VAR had been right in not overruling the on-field call, saying there was no conclusive evidence Gordon was offside when the ball last touched him. The VAR went through that diligently and identified no clear evidence to intervene or overturn the goal. Process actually was correct. So Mikel Arteta escapes any kind of punishment from the FA. And also on the board, agents. I don't know if you saw this. Agents, the Saudi spending spree, by the way, helped lift football agent payments to a record £700 million in a year. Spending in the men's game totals anywhere from $888 million to $1.4 million to $1.4 million in the women's game. FIFA introduced new regulations for agents earlier this year, but agent payments to a record £700 million in a year. 42.5% increase in total fees. Premier League obviously leading the way. English Top Flight responsible for more than a quarter of all spending on agents at $280 million. That is a great career if you can grab it and have the right folks that are there in the business, man. If you want to be an agent, be an agent. If you can do it in Europe, do it in Europe, man. That's the biggest stuff. That is the biggest stuff that is going on there. So, once again, doing the world's work. Tom has sent a link from our friends at MLS Buzz 17356. Let me see if I've clicked the right one. Yeah, okay. To Buzz's point, Buzz says that they've been following Major League Soccer for 15 years. Teams on the verge of collapse. Chivas wasn't that long ago. Right now, from Buzz's perspective, here's where they stand. Soccer's popular, true. 30 very stable clubs. Well, expansion area mostly behind us. All right. Growth in that respect is nearing its limit. No, limit is financial. Limit is financial when it comes to whatever a league wants to do. Growth, there's growth. I admit that there are degrees of growth. You have growth, you have smart growth. You have growth for the sake of growth. And then you have growth because you sit there and you say, well, if somebody is going to sit there and go, well, Somebody is going to walk up to our door and hand us a $500 million check. Are we going to say no? No, you're not. Stable. I want to know what Buzz's definition of stable is, because you have owners. All right, so let's go down this road. Okay, so stable. You have teams that either invest or want to invest and do it in their ways. So, looking at stable clubs, obviously, I'd look. You have owners who want to invest. Does that equate to stability of a club? I mean, you look at Chicago. Legitimately, you look at Chicago. I want to know what Chicago is spending. I want to know what Chicago sees in their spending. Chicago's been spending a lot of money, and they are just printing money and spending it. They are printing money and spending it. But stable, like I said, I'm sitting here and I'm peering through the franchises and seeing where we are. Minnesota, I mean, stable for me. It's a pardon the pun, but it's a buzzword. When it comes to stability, what does that mean? They invest in their own ways. You have owners who want to buy franchises from folks who don't want to invest anymore, because I think you will always have this situation. You'll have folks who want to invest. And if you don't want to invest, I can guarantee you now, especially where I think Major League Soccer's and it used to be an underappreciated asset. But with what we're seeing with the expansion fee in San Diego, with what we're seeing with the investment and going on in Miami and other places, I don't know if growth is in that respect of stability is nearing a limit. I think you can get to 32, and I'm taking what Buzz is saying and I'm putting it. I'm taking it very literally, because you can only do so much in 280 characters, and I get it. 30 very stable clubs. Sure, but their stability has to do with their own levels of spending and what they're comfortable with. Most every club has their own stadium and training facilities. Biggest expenditures are behind the league. MLS is one of the richest collection of owners on the planet. Most every owner is worth billions. MLS is partnered with the most innovative and powerful tech company in the history of planet Earth, Apple. Yeah. Greatest player in the history of the sport chose to come play here and has brought more attention to the league than ever. True. About to have 3 straight summers of massive international soccer tournaments played in the U.S. MLS refuses to allow clubs to increase spending in the slightest. Premier League season tickets while watching squads built on a League One budget. I don't think that's entirely true, but it's not a League One budget. And Premier League season ticket prices, I would completely dispute that. I understand where he's going on the analogy, but if you're looking at it literally, and that's the danger of saying things like that. If you look at something literally, you're going to sit there and go, this is what they're going to end up printing. No, they're not. But I understand what he's trying to say. Top level spending, ticket prices, and your budget doesn't match that. I get that, but it's not as disparate as he is claiming. Still be performing miracles if we can win Champions Cup despite having 10 teams in the tournament. But that's okay. We'll have another gimmick Leagues Cup tournament, or we pull Mexican clubs out of their country for a month, treat Club America and Chivas like the Harlem Globetrotters. Okay. I will agree that until spending improves and increases, that it will be difficult for a Major League Soccer team to win CONCACAF Champions League. Things are going to have to fall. The CONCACAF Champions Cup, the hemispheric extravaganza that we now refer to as the Triple C. It's going to depend on the bracket. It's going to depend on how you coach. There are other things here in play other than just the notion of the teams that you're going up against. We've seen in the last handful of CONCACAF Champions League tournaments that Major League Soccer teams can compete. And it comes down to winning those away games. yes, in some instances, it has come to the idea of, we can't compete against a Grande and Liga MX. I think those margins are closing. I think those margins are closing. We've seen it the last couple of seasons. And so if MLS continues on this path, logic would dictate that MLS teams will continue. I mean, shoot, what are the Seattle Sounders? Seattle Sounders are going to go play in the Club World Cup. What's that? Seattle found their way through. The fact that MLS has refused to budge even in the slightest in a time as ripe as this is incredibly demoralizing. I don't think so. Maybe the changes in 25 will be more in the direction of what we're looking for, but honestly, what reason has the league given for anyone to think that will happen? I will always go back to the tenet of we know what we don't know. Sorry about my posture. Owners probably want to see proof that growth in revenue before committing to loosening up the cap of the rules. That's from Four Card. So Four Card, I would think Four Card that legitimately, if an owner was to look, LAFC should have beat Leon last year. And that's my point. LAFC should have beat Leon last year. Their failure isn't a failure of MLS rules. That is absolutely 100% true. Absolutely 100% true. Owners probably want to see proof of that growth in revenue before committing to loosening the rules and cap. What I would probably do in return is have them look at the Forbes list and the value of their club since they've invested. You look at, all right, so now that I've mentioned that, Forbes, MLS, valuations. All right, so I'm doing the Google search here, and I'm looking at the last round of, all right, so MLS from Forbes. LAFC is the first $1 billion franchise. The first $1 billion franchise. So that, for me, speaks, and once again, this is from Justin Birnbaum at Forbes. So to that point, since 2019, and this is Birnbaum's header in the article. The header in the article from Birnbaum. Literally, this is what he says. And this is dated February 2nd, so we can also anticipate in 2 months that there will be a follow-up article describing all these things. Since 2019, the average MLS team's valuation has climbed 85%. Oh no, I'm specifically looking at Four Card. I'm looking at just specifically the MLS valuation. So let me do. I'm going to go ahead and once again I will put the article in the Twitch pitch. So once again, if you hit enter, okay. So the article's in the Twitch pitch, and this is what I'm going to be referring to. From February of 23, Major League Soccer valuations. Average Major League Soccer team's valuation has climbed 85% to $579 million. That's the average valuation. Of course, for every billion, that means that you've got to have somebody that's worth 200,000. Forbes estimates, and they estimated back in February, that LAFC is worth $1 billion 9 years after they joined for $110 million. More than double the $475 million Forbes determined it was worth in 2019, the last time they assessed North American soccer teams. So, looking at 1 through 7, they had, and this, like I said, this was going into the 23 season. LAFC, $1 billion. Must be nice to just kind of sit there and just kind of throw a number out there. Yeah, you're worth $1 billion. Revenue at $116 million, operating income at $8 million. Winning tournaments will do that. The Galaxy at number 2, 925. Atlanta United at 3 at 850. Operating income $6 million, revenue at $81 million. NYCFC at 800, DC United at 700. I need to know the parameters. I need to know how they judge this. Toronto FC at 690, Austin FC at 680. That's 1 through 7. Rest of your top 10, Seattle at 660, Portland 650, Charlotte 625, Inter Miami, and once again, this was before Lionel Messi came in. $600 million at number 11. If they do this again for next season, guarantee you that Inter Miami rockets up the charts. So your top 11 teams are at $600 million. Let's go to the bottom. Colorado was at the bottom last time, and I think they still are. Colorado dead last at 28 at $350 million. CF Montreal 375, Dallas at 400 at 26. So no one worth anything less in the evaluations at $350 million. Colorado losing $5 million on revenue of 33. So that's where Forbes and Justin Birnbaum had Major League Soccer. In the Forbes list, yeah, 4-card, it still is just a projection, but still I think it gives an idea. It's like, yeah, you're worth $1 million. Like I said, I'd love to know what their parameters are. It's probably a combination of stadium, facilities, success, investments, players, player valuations, all those kinds of things. So let me see if Justin actually tells us in this article what his valuations are based upon. LAFC article continues. Playoff matches. Just how far can LAFC and MLS go? More than half the clubs lose money, and with average revenue at $55 million, MLS teams really can't compete against Europe's soccer clubs for top players. $1 billion is a huge number. 9 times, 8 times revenue is huge, particularly when you're locked into a certain degree on your media rights. Edwin Drawn, VP Sports Investment Bank Park Lane. Manchester United, by contrast, is valued at $4.6 billion or 6.9 times revenue. So right now, the top teams in Major League Soccer are turning higher times revenue numbers, but are valuated less. They're evaluated at a lesser number than, say, a Premier League group, but they're not worth as much. So I guess that's going to be that gauge going forward. Premier League teams worth more, less times revenue when it comes to valuation and revenue. Major League Soccer valued less by about 75%, and right now they're at 9 times revenue according to Edwin Drawn. So that's where the margins are that we have to stare at going forward. But I still think. Oh, okay. So let me see where Doug is here. So we'll see what we're staring at here with Doug Robertson of the AJC. So news from Doug. Apparently, Quentin Westberg has returned. Quentin Westberg rejoining Atlanta United. So Quentin Westberg is back. We'll keep an eye on Quentin Westberg, expected to re-sign. This is 20 minutes ago. Expected to re-sign possibly as early as this weekend. So you'll have Quentin Westberg, Josh Cohen, Brad Gazan. So that's where your keeper room is right now. So Abby says it looks like a combination of revenue and operating income, et cetera. Morning, Abby. So Quentin Westberg is back. So Westberg, Cohen, Gazan, all in camp. We'll keep an eye on all that stuff. But and he said, thank you, Tom. And that's the other part. For those of you who are here for the first time, that's the other part of all of this. If folks see news, they'll punch the link in the Twitch pitch, and we all get to talk about it going from there. So, hang on just a second. Hydrating. I guess I should call for a hydration break for all of us at certain points. It's like, if I'm going to do it, now you know why I'm doing it, as opposed to anybody else. But gossip, rumor, and innuendo while we're here, and we'll go over what folks are thinking and who could be going where. And like I said, Prem and Proper will be up a little later today, and we'll go through everything in the Premier League with Maddie and Drew and get you ready to hear from coaches and things like that. Looks like Erling Haaland may not play this weekend against Crystal Palace, as Manchester City's keeping an eye on the Club World Cup. PSG interested in the move for Casemiro, who's been linked with Al Hilal. Struggling to find a buyer for Jadon Sancho. Then once again, this is the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. £350,000 a week wages believed to be putting teams off from the £73 million signing. Manchester United also monitoring a 27-year-old Stuttgart striker Serhou Guirassy, who can leave the German side in January for less than 20 million euros, £17.25 million. Saudi Pro League Director of Football Michael Emanalo believes it would be hard to convince Mo Salah to join the league in January. Well, duh. He's still in a season. He doesn't want to leave. I don't think that he would want to leave that time anytime soon, especially in the middle of the year. David De Gea has once again fueled speculation of an imminent return to the Premier League with a cryptic social media post. My guess is that might be Newcastle with the injury to Pope and Dubravka and all of them things. So keep an eye on David De Gea and Newcastle. Villarreal interested in Arsenal's defender Cedric Suarez. Manchester United will consider sales in January if any deal helps ease FFP concerns and does not unduly weaken Erik ten Hag's squad. That's the wording from the Manchester Evening News. Ange Postecoglou wants to sign a new center back in the January window. Hey, I know one. Return to fitness of form for Fulham's 26-year-old English defender Tosin Adarabioyo has stirred interest ahead of the January window. Four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Arsenal and Spurs both sent scouts to watch 18-year-old Belgian midfielder Arthur Vermeeren play for Royal Antwerp in their win over Barcelona. Leipzig have again contacted Liverpool to express a desire to keep 21-year-old Portuguese winger Fabio Carvalho, despite the Reds wanting him to return from his loan spell through a lack of playing time. Xavi is facing heat at the new camp after punishing back-to-back defeats, with none of the club's boardroom chiefs giving their support to the Spaniard. Whoops. And Ecuador's 16-year-old midfielder Kendry Paez, training with Chelsea next week in the first of a number of settling-in visits. Blues signed him from Independiente del Valle in the summer with the agreement that he will join the club on his 18th birthday. And Lou City in the USL Championship has signed Tola Shawunmi after his rookie season. After a rookie season with Pittsburgh, had 4 goals, 3 assists. Contract is pending federation and league approval. So Danny Cruz keeping an eye on next season. You'll remember Shawunmi was drafted in the 2022 Super Draft, wound up returning to school for one more year of college. And so you've got Tola Shawunmi heading to Lou City as well as a part of everything. Once again, we told you yesterday that USL League One's got the schedule out. Tormenta's got their schedule. Everybody's got the schedule. We're also tracking down Pablo Jara for a 1v1, so hopefully we'll catch up with Pablo as he has moved from Tormenta, where he has spent a lot of his formative years here in the States, to Richmond. He's going to be between the sticks for the Richmond Kickers. Also on the board this morning, what to watch and where to watch it. That was the other thing I was trying to figure out. It's like, what have I forgotten to talk about? And when we have Bart back on Monday, article in Soccer America Confidential, quote, violence against referees, FIFA and Kalina must act now. Guy decides, I've decided to quit refereeing men's and any boys' games over U15. So we'll see what happens there. Clemson claimed their second crown in 3 years. And NWSL expansion draft. Keep an eye on that as well. What to watch on Friday. BN and Espanol simulcasting Monaco and Lyon at 3 Eastern. And you can catch that in Fanatis. If you don't have the BNs, Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you can catch BN Sports, CDO, For the Fans, Gold TV, Brasilero, all that stuff. Nuestra Tele at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show, helps out the network, and we're good to go there. Forest and Spurs are at 3 o'clock to give you some Friday night football overseas. ESPN Deportes, Osasuna Raya Vallecano is at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes has a game at 1 o'clock for a game that we don't talk about or promote. On the plus, Bundesliga, Mönchengladbach, Werder Bremen at 2:20. Bundesliga B, Schalke Greuther Fürth at 12:30. Osasuna Raya Vallecano is at 3. FIFA Club World Cup going on right now. It is Leon and Urawa Red Diamonds at 1 o'clock. It's 2 teams from the league we don't talk about or promote. Fox Soccer Plus, once again, game of the league we don't talk about or promote. Paramount Plus, Serie A, Genoa and Juve is happening on Paramount Plus at 2:45 this afternoon. So goalkeeper room getting very, very interesting for Atlanta United. We'll see what that continues to look like going forward. Once again, remember, 27th of January. 27th of January is when Atlanta United goes to Birmingham as they get their season kind of kicked off with Birmingham Legion. Abby, thank you. It was a great Christmas party, by the way. Off to get jelly donuts for the Hanukkah party tonight. They're making matzah crack later. Oh, matzah crack. It is indeed matzah crack. Just listening from here on out, you got to go to ITPN on the Northeast side. She Believes. They're getting the women's She Believes 1 o'clock. It's going to be a quick off. It always is a quick off season for card. It's always a quick off season. That's the fun part, is that we always sit there and we're thinking, that everything is going to be, everything is going to be done. It's going to be quick, or it's like we're sitting there thinking, man, it's only like, 2 months away, 60 days. Guess what? It ain't. You got like 6 weeks. 6 weeks to get everything squared away and to go from there. If you missed it, catch up Maddie's interview. Yeah, schedule drops next week. Maddie caught up with Coach McAlpine up at UGA. So that is also on the network as well. I thought it was it next week? I thought it was next week. Yeah, I thought it was like this time next week before Christmas. I thought it was like the 22nd. It's like right in and around signing day. If you missed the conversation Maddie had with Coach McAlpine up at UGA, great conversation for them, and really cool that we got to spend some time with Coach McAlpine with their postseason run that they had. We got to see them in the Clemson bracket before time. Got to stop there as well. So may not be out until Sunday. Okay, so it'll be a Christmas present for everybody. We'll talk about it on. If it's not out until Sunday, which would be the 20, what's today? So if today's the 15, 17, Christmas Eve day. Wow. Okay. So we'll see what happens, but when still a chance for today. All right. So we'll get everything squared away with schedules and things. And the off season in and of itself, very, very quick. And that's the good part about all of this. We're always looking forward to it, and there's always plenty to talk about. And thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us. Oh, either today or this Sunday. Oh, okay. So this week, not next week. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you for getting my days straight. But no, thanks for everybody for hanging out today. Obviously, we'll be back on Monday, and we will talk about everything this weekend. Tuesday, once again, remember, Darren Van Tassel starts all of our guests, 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Unified team happening with Tormenta. We'll get into that. USL League One, we'll get into that. We'll get the stadium update going on there. Talk about anything else that's on Darren's mind. Might even get a little talk from Darren about Pablo Jara. Bev Yanez will be a 1v1 next week from Racing Louisville, and our guests will continue. We've got some other 1v1s that are planned to catch up with folks and get all the information that you need here, because once again, it really is. It's an off season here domestically, but there's still a lot of stuff going on, other stories we got to talk about. But yeah, there will always be there, and we're also chasing all of the new announcements for teams and things like Texoma. The USL Texoma brought their crest out. We'll try to track them down for that. I think next week we're going to catch up with our friends at Jack's USL and find out, now that they've got their gear out now, and they've got their logo and all their branding, and that'll be something else to catch up with them down there as they continue to grow for 25 and 26. So all of that build there in Jacksonville, we're catching up with them on that. So yeah, plenty to talk about when it comes to stuff. We'll always have those in 1v1s if they're not live with us on the show. So that'll do it from Washington, D.C. Once again, thanks to you guys. Thanks to Jarrett. Thanks to everybody here in the Twitch pitch. Safe travels this weekend. Okay. Anyone traveling? So if I'm flying over it, maybe I'll see it. Georgia weather, fire danger, and effect storms pummeling the East Coast. Yeah, so we're trying to get home before all this stuff happens. And we get home before all this stuff happens, and we get anchored in, then we're fine. But leaving back D.C. to head back to Atlanta later today. So once again, thanks to all you guys for another great week. And don't forget, if you missed the show live, it'll be up on the app in short order and up on the network in short order. We'll have things going on, prim and proper. Like I said, it'll be up later today to get you ready for the weekend, and we will go from there. So once again, thanks to all you guys. Thanks to all of you who joined this morning. And don't be strangers. Come and and hang out with us every Monday through Friday. And tell your friends to come and hang out with us too. And we will do everything every single Monday. And mucha plata, as 4Card says, for everyone. For everybody here at SDH, to all of you guys, thanks for another fantastic week of SDH. We'll be back at it again on Monday. Play it safe, everybody. Be safe, and get all your shopping done, because I think I have to start mine after signing day, which will be Wednesday. So since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll be back at it again on Monday morning. Bye.